Charles Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol in 1843, after he had written Nicholas Nickleby and Oliver Twist, but before he wrote David Copperfield, Great Expectations, and A Tale of Two Cities, which are considered his most accomplished work. This abridgment of A Christmas Carol is by a good friend of mine, Ray Boaz of Walpole, New Hampshire. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Marley was dead to begin with. There's no doubt about that. He was as dead as a doornail. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story I'm going to relate. The register of Marley's burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it. Scrooge and he were partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole friend, his sole mourner. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name, however. There it yet stood, years afterwards, above the warehouse door. Scrooge and Marley. The firm was known as Scrooge and Marley. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge, sometimes Marley. He answered to both names. It was all the same to him. The city clocks had gone 3, but it was quite dark already, and the candles were glaring in the windows of the neighboring offices like ready smears upon the brown air. Scrooge kept his eye upon his faithful but shivering clerk, Bob Cratchit, who was busy copying letters. Suddenly, a cheerful person entered the office. It was Scrooge's nephew, Fred. "Merry Christmas, Uncle, God save you." "Ah," said Scrooge. "A Christmas on my uncle? You don't mean that, I'm sure." "I do," said Scrooge. "What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough." "Well, come then," replied the nephew. "What right have you to be dismal? You're rich enough." "Nephew," returned the uncle sternly, "you keep Christmas in your way and let me keep it in mine." "Keep it? But you don't keep it," said the nephew. Don't be angry, Uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow." "No, I will not. Good afternoon." I am sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute," said the nephew. "We have never had any quarrel to which I have been a party. I will keep my Christmas here till last. Merry Christmas, Uncle." "Good afternoon." "Happy New Year." "Uncle." As the nephew left the office, 2 charity collectors arrived. "Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?" "Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago this very night." "Oh, we have no doubt that his liberality was well represented by his surviving partner," the collector said. Scrooge, looking at the collector's credentials, said, "Not interested." "Oh, but at this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provision for the poor and the destitute, which suffer greatly. Many thousands are in want of common necessities, and hundreds of thousands are in want of common comforts." A disagreeable Scrooge said, "Are there no prisons?" A collector said sadly, "Sir, there are plenty of prisons." "And the union workhouses?" asked Scrooge. "Are they still in operation?" "They are. Still, I wish I could say they were not." Facetiously, Scrooge said, "Oh, I was afraid from what you said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course." "I'm very glad to hear that. But, sir, These organizations scarcely furnish Christian cheer of mind or body to those unfortunate people. It is because of that a few of us are endeavoring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. We chose this time, above all others, when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. What shall we put you down for? Nothing. You wish to remain anonymous? I wish to be left alone. Since you ask me what I wish, that is my answer. I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I help to support the prisons and the workhouses. Lord knows they cost enough. And those that are badly off must go there. Oh, but many can't go there, sir, and many would rather die than go there. If they would rather die, then they had better get to it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, it is not my business. It is enough for a man to understand his own business and not interfere with other people's. So why don't you good afternoon? As the collectors leave, Scrooge mutters, I'll work. At length the hour of shutting up the counting house arrived. With an ill will, Scrooge dismounted from his stool and tacitly admitted the fact to the expected clerk, Bob Cratchit. You'll want our day off tomorrow, I suppose? It's quite convenient, sir, replied Cratchit. It's not convenient, and it's not fair. If I was to dock you half a crown for it, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'll be mad. Yes, sir, said Cratchit meekly. Christmas. And yet you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work? Poor excuse to pick a man's pocket every December 25th. And you, a clerk, with 15 shillings a week, and a wife, and a family, talking about a Merry Christmas. But may I have tomorrow off, sir? It's only once a year, asked Cratchit. Well, I suppose you must have the whole day, but being here all the earlier the next morning. Yes, sir. I will, and thank you, sir. After such a disturbing afternoon, Scrooge took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern. Waiter, more bread. It will be a halfpenny more, sir. No more bread. Scrooge went home to bed. He arrived at his front door. Now, it is a fact that there was nothing at all particular about the knocker on the door of this house, except it was very large. And yet Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker, without its undergoing any intermediate process of change, not a knocker, but Marley's face. Marley's face, with a dismal light about it. As Scrooge looked fixedly at this phenomenon, it was a knocker again. And he said, "Oh, cool." And then he closed the door with a bang, put on his dressing gown, slippers, sat down before the fire to take his evening gruel. The fire was very low indeed, casting eerie shadows on the walls, and he was obliged to sit close to it and brood over it before he could extract any warmth from it. As he leaned forward in his chair, his glance happened to rest upon a bell, a disused bell that hung in the room and communicated for some purpose long forgotten with a chamber in the highest story of the building. It was with great astonishment and a strange dread that, as he looked, he saw this bell begin to swing, first slowly, then so loudly that every bell in the house joined in and rang also. This must have lasted a half a minute or so, but to Scrooge it seemed a terrifying chord. The bell ceased, only to be followed by a clanging noise deep down below, as if some person were dragging a heavy chain over the casks in the wine merchant's cellar. Scrooge then remembered that ghosts in haunted houses were described as dragging chains. Then followed a series of strange sounds of feet mounting stairs, coming closer and closer toward his room. Scrooge, suddenly aware that some weird happening was about to occur, hugged his shivering body and waited in fear and trembling at this specter. Who are you? What do you want? Much, replied the specter. Who are you? Ask me who I was. Who were you then? And left, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. Can you sit down? I can't. Well then, what then? Marley sits very upright in his chair with his chains clanking. He looks off into space, never really focusing on Scrooge. You don't believe in me, said Marley. Well, Scrooge said, no, I don't. Marley said, what evidence would you have of my reality beyond your own senses? I don't know, said Scrooge. Why do you doubt your senses? Well, Scrooge said that because many things affect them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a corn of cheese, a fragment of underdone potato. There was more gravy in a grill than you wherever you are. Oh, humbug, I tell you, humbug. Marley rose and yelled, and he shook his chains. Scrooge, suddenly terrified, fastened his knees in fear. Mercy, dreadful apparition, why do you trouble me? Mad? Oh, worldly mind, do you believe in me or not? Oh, I do. I'm lost, but why do spirits walk to yours? Why do they come to me? Marley replied, it is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk among his fellow men. And if that spirit goes forth not in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to wander through the world and witness what it cannot share but might have shared on earth. Malik shook his chains and he roamed. Scrooge said, you are fettered. Tell me why. I wear the chains I forged in life. I made it, link by link, and of my own free will I wore it. Oh, Jacob, Marley, tell me, sport, speak comfort to me, Jacob. I have none to give. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. In life, my spirit never walked beyond the narrow limits of our counting house. Pardon me, and weary journeys lie before me. But you are only a good man of business, Jacob. Business. Mankind was my business. The common welfare is my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. Hear me? My time is nearly gone. I will, but don't be hard on me, Jacob. Don't be flowery, pray. I am here to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate, Ebenezer. Oh, you're always a great friend. Thank you. Thank you, Jacob. You will have been haunted by 3 spirits. Is that the chance to know you mentioned, Jacob? It is. I think I'd rather not. Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow, on the bell tolls 1. Couldn't I take them all at once and grab it over? Expect the second on the next night at the same hour. The third upon the next night when the last stroke of 12 ceases to vibrate. Look to see me no more. Slowly and quietly the spectre floated out upon the dark black night. With a painful sigh, Scrooge closed the window and examined the door by which the ghost had entered. It was double locked, just as he had locked it in the early evening. He tried to say "Ella," but stopped at the first syllable. Feeling much in need of repose, went straight to bed and fell asleep on the instant. Subconsciously, from deep in the realms of sleep, old Scrooge heard the clock toll the quarter hour, the half hour, and remembered that the ghost had warned him of a visitation on the stroke of 1. Recalling this, he dozed fitfully. On the instant of 1, the lights flashed in his room. For a moment he blinked, then bulging up, he stared wide-eyed at what he saw before him. Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me? I am. Oh, well then, what are you? I am the ghost of Christmas past. Long past? No, your past. Oh, well, what then? What would you ever be? Your welfare. Think we'd walk through this window with me. I'm kind of mortal. I'm liable to fall. The ghost clasped his arm firmly. No, my hand will support thee. As the words were spoken, they passed through the window and found themselves upon an open country road, with fields on either hand. Look beyond. What see you? Good heavens, said Scrooge. I was bred in this place. I was a boy here. All of this I remember well. Your lip is trembling, and is that a tear upon your cheek? Do you recollect the way? Recollect it? I could walk it blindfold. But there is the house where my sister and I lived our childhood. And there was where we played Robin Crusoe in the summer, and at Christmas time we slided down that very well. What is the matter? Said the ghost. These are but shadows of things that have been. Oh, nothing. Nothing. There was a child singing a Christmas carol at my office last night. I should like to have given him something, but that's all that. It's too late now. Let us see another Christmas, said the ghost. Who is that solitary child? Oh, it is I. Scrooge was transported to a dark and dirty boarding school. All the other boys at his school had gone home for the jolly holidays. The young Ebenezer was at his desk reading his book, lit by a single candle. The door opened, and a little girl, not much younger than the boy, darted in. Why, wait, it's this Fallon, my little sister. Oh, she came with the happy news that she had persuaded Father to let me come home for Christmas. He had sent a coach to fetch me. She said that the Father wanted me to be a man, but first we were to be together all Christmas now. Oh, she was quite a woman, my little fan. The ghost said, always a delicate creature, your sister, whom a breath might have withered, but she had a large heart. Yes, she had, ghost, you're right. I'll not gainsay it, spirit, God forbid. She died a woman, and I had, I think, children? Scrooge said, one child. The ghost replied, "Your nephew." Scrooge said uneasily, "Yes." Although they had but at that moment left the school behind them, they were now in the busy thoroughfare of a city. The ghost stopped at a certain warehouse door and asked Scrooge if he knew it. "No, I was apprenticed to her." They went in. At sight of an old gentleman in a Welsh wig, Scrooge cried out in great excitement, "What is it? It's your Fezziwig! My compassion, sir! Fezziwig, alive again!" "You're there, Ebenezer!" exclaimed Fezziwig. "It is 7 o'clock. No more work tonight. Christmas Eve, Ebenezer. Let's have the shutters up before a man can say, 'Jack Robinson.' Clear away, my lads. Let's have lots of wind here." Clear away? There was nothing they wouldn't have cleared away, or couldn't have cleared away, with all Fezziwig looking on. It was done in a minute. Everything movable was packed off, as if it were missed from public light forevermore. The floor was swept and watered, the lamps were trimmed, fuel was heaped upon the fire, and the warehouse was as snug and warm and dry and as bright a ballroom as you would desire to see upon a winter's night. In came a fiddler with a music book, took up his position. In came Mrs. Fezziwig. In came all the young men and women employed in the business, some shyly, some boldly, some gracefully, some awkwardly, some pushing, some pulling. In they all came, anyhow and everyhow. And away they all went in a marvelous dance. "Well done!" cheered Fezziwig. "A small matter to make these silly folks so full of gratitude," offered the spirit. Scrooge said, "Small." The ghost replied, "Listen. Listen to the apprentices pouring out their hearts in praise of Fezziwig," said the ghost. "Why, he has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money, 3 or 4 perhaps. Is that so much that he deserves this praise?" "Oh, it isn't that. It isn't that, spirit. He has the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome, a pleasure or a toil. Say that this power lies in words and looks, in things slight and insignificant. It's impossible to add and count them up. The happiness he gives is quite as great as if it cost a fortune." "What's the matter?" asked the ghost. "Nothing particular," replied Scrooge. "Something, I think." Scrooge said, No, I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk while present just now, that's all." "My time grows short," said the spirit. This was not addressed to Scrooge or to anyone who he could see, but produced an immediate effect, for again Scrooge saw himself. He was older now, a man in the prime of his life. His face had not the harsh and rigid lines of later years, but it had begun to wear the signs of care and avarice. He was not alone, but sat by the side of a fair young girl in a dark black cape, in whose eyes there were tears, which sparkled in the light that shone out of the ghost of Christmas past. It was the lovely Belle, Scrooge's long-time fiancée. "It matters little to you, very little," said Belle through her tears. "Another idol has displaced me." "What idol has displaced you?" asked Scrooge. "The golden nun," said Belle. "Or that this sister even had the dealings of the world," said Scrooge. "There is nothing on which the world is so hard as poverty." "Oh, poor Ebenezer, you fear the world too much." "Oh, what then?" said Scrooge defensively. "Even if I had given so much wiser, what then? I am not changed toward you, am I? What which promised happiness We were one in heart. This fraught with misery, Belle said sadly. Now that we are two. Belle looked away and wept tears. How often and how keenly I have thought of this, I will not say. It is enough that I have thought of it, and can release you. Have I ever sought release? In words? No, never. By what then? In a changed nature, said Belle, in an altered spirit, in everything that made my love of any worth or value in your sight. If this had never been between us, tell me, would you seek me out and try to win me now? No. Oh, no. Do you think that? Asked Scrooge, uncertainly. I would gladly think otherwise, if I could. Heaven knows I would. But if you were free today, tomorrow, can even I believe that you would choose a dowerless girl? I do not, and I release you with full heart for the love of him you once were. May you be happy in the life you have chosen. Belle, in tears, leaves Scrooge on the bench. Spirit, show me no more. Conduct me home. Why do you delight to torture me? Remove me from this place. I told you these were shadows of the things that might have been, said the ghost. That they are what they are, do not blame me. Well, remove me. I cannot bear it. Leave me, take me back, haunt me no longer. As he struggled with the spirit, Scrooge was conscious of being exhausted and overcome by an irresistible drowsiness and, further, of being in his own bedroom. He had barely time to reel to bed before he sank into a heavy sleep. When the bell struck 1 and no shape appeared, Scrooge was taken with a violent fit of trembling. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour went by, yet nothing came. All this time, the very core and center of a blaze of ruddy light streamed in. At last he began to think that the source and secret of this ghostly light might be in the adjoining room, from whence, on further tracing it, it seemed to shine. This idea taking full possession of his mind, he softly shuffled in his slippers to the door. As Scrooge approached, a strange voice called him by his name. Ebenezer! Ebenezer Scrooge! It was his own room. There was no doubt about that. But it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were hung with living green. It looked a perfect grove. Leaves of holly, mistletoe, and ivy reflected back the light. Heaped upon the floor, to form a kind of throne, were the most scrumptious of meats and treats, truly a feast for the eyes and body both. Upon this throne there sat a jolly spectre, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch, in shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and held it up, high up, to shed a light on Scrooge as he peered round the door. Oh, come in and know me better, man. Scrooge entered timidly on his bed before the spirit. I am the ghost of Christmas present. What could that mean? You have never seen the like of me before. Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learned a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it. I would touch my robe, said the spirit. Scrooge stood as he was told, and held it fast. But I see gaiety and Christmas everywhere. Stores lighted up, holly, mistletoe. What, that noise? asked the ghost. Do you know whose house that is? Why, we're at my Clark's house. I'm 15 by a week, Clark's kitchen, cried Scrooge. Mrs. Cratchit was asking her children, what has ever got your precious father and your brother Tiny Jim, and where is Martha? Belinda said, here's Martha Mother. Here's Martha Mother. Oh, hurrah! Oh, bless your little heart alive, my dear Martha, how late you are. We had a deal of work to finish up last night, said Martha, and we had to clear away this morning, Mother. Well, never mind, as long as you have calm. Now sit you down before the fire, Martha, and my dear, and have a warm night. God bless you. Oh, no, there's Father coming, cried the other children. Hi, Martha, hi. So Martha hid herself, and in came Bob, the father, with at least 3 feet of comforter, exclusive of the fringe, hanging down before him, and his threadbare clothes darned up, brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim supported upon his back. Alas, for Tiny Tim, he bore a little crutch. But where's our Martha? Asked Bob Cratchit. Oh, well, she's not coming. Not coming on White Christmas Day. Martha ran from her hiding place into her father's arms. Oh, Father, I don't want to disappoint you, even if it is only a joke. And how did little Tim behave? Asked Mrs. Cratchit. As good as gold and better, my dear. Somehow he gets thoughtful, sitting by himself so much, and thinks the strangest things you've ever heard. He told me, coming home, he hoped that people saw him in the church because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant for them to remember upon Christmas Day who made beggars walk and blind men see. Before another word was spoken, the 2 ubiquitous young Cratchits went to retrieve the goose, and Bob compounded some hot mixture in a jug with gin and lemons, and stirred it round and brown, and put it on the hob to simmer. Such an activity ensued that you might have thought a goose the rarest and prized of all birds, a feathered phenomenon. Mrs. Cratchit made the gravy hissing hot. All the rest of the Cratchits busied and bustled through the kitchen. At last, the dishes were set on and grace spoken. Calmly, after a short period of eating and talking, Cratchit exclaimed, Oh, and such a wonderful pudding, my dear. It is your greatest success since our marriage. And Mrs. Cratchit said, well, I confess I had some doubts about its size, my dear, but whether we could all be satisfied, whether everyone would have enough. Oh, mother, replied Martha, we are all filled. Scrooge suddenly addressed the ghost. Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live. I see a vacant seat in that poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die. Oh no, kind spirit, say he will be spared. The ghost scolded Scrooge. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none other in my race will fight you here. What then? If he is to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus population. Can you discover for yourself what the surplus really is and where it is? Will you decide what men shall live, what men shall die? It may be, and that in the sight of heaven, you are more worthless or less fit to live than millions like this poor child. Bob Cratchit proposed a toast. Mr. Scrooge, I give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast. The founder of the feast indeed, said Mrs. Cratchit. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon. I hope he'd have a good appetite for it. Oh, my dear, said Bob Cratchit, my dear, it's Christmas Day. It should be Christmas Day, I am sure, on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he was, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you, poor fellow. My dear, it's Christmas Day. I'll drink to his health for your sake, and the day's, and for his. Long life to him, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And God bless us, everyone. John Pennington. By this time it was getting dark and snowing pretty heavily, and as Scrooge and the Spirit went along the streets, the brightness of the roaring fires in kitchens, parlors, and all sorts of rooms was wonderful. Stopping at one house, it was a great surprise to Scrooge to recognize it as his own nephew's, and to find himself in a bright, dry, gloomy room with the Spirit standing, smiling by his side, and looking at the same nephew with approving affability. "What now? What see you?" asked the Spirit. I see my nephew with his family. Look how heartily he laughs, and hardly showing him. What else? They joke about me. They drink to my health and happiness, knowing I lack both. They laugh that I missed a dinner party they offered, and that, in truth, they seem to wish for my present. He said that Christmas was a humbug, Scrooge's nephew Fred told the assembled partygoers. As he lived, he believed it too. More shame for him, Fred, cried his wife. Well, he's a comic old fellow, that's the truth, said Fred. Not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offenses carry their own punishment. I have nothing to say against him. I am sure he is very rich, Fred, said his wife, and at least you always tell me so. Well, what of that, my dear? His wealth is of no use to him. He doesn't do any good with it. He doesn't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't the satisfaction of thinking that he is ever going to benefit it with us. Well, I have no patience with him, cried his wife. Oh, I have. I'm very sorry for him. I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. For suffers by all his whims. Himself, always. Here he takes it into his head to dislike us, and he won't come to dine with us. What's the consequence? I think he loses more than a very good dinner. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the man, wherever he is, said Fred, happily. He wouldn't take company from us, but he have it nevertheless. To Uncle Ebenezer. They all joined in again. To Uncle Ebenezer. Scrooge would have thanked them if the ghost had given him time, but he and the Spirit were again upon their travels. Seemed a long time, but while Scrooge remained unaltered in his outward form, the ghost grew older, clearly older, and he noticed that its hair and face were now gray. Scrooge looked at the ghost. Are spirits' lives so short? My life upon this globe is very brief, said the ghost of Christmas present. It ends tonight at midnight. Forgive me if I am not justified in what I ask, but I see something strange and not belonging to yourself protruding from your skirts. Is that a foot? A claw? It might be a leg, said the ghost, for there is flesh upon it. Look down here. From the folds of the Spirit's robe was revealed 2 children, wretched, frightful, hideous, and miserable. They were a boy and a girl, eager, ragged, scowling, wolfish, but prostrate too in their humility. For grateful youth should have filled their features out. A stale hand like that of age that pinched and twisted them. Scrooge stared back, appalled, Spirit, are these yours? They are man's, said the ghost sadly, and they cling to me. This boy is ignorance, this girl is want. Beware them both, and all of their relations. But most of all beware this boy, for on his brow is written doom, unless it is erased. Well, have they no refuge or resource? Are there no prisons? Are there no cousins? There was a sound of chimes, ringing 12. I go, but another comes. As the last stroke ceased to vibrate, Scrooge remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and, lifting up his eyes, beheld a solemn phantom. It was shrouded in a deep black garment which concealed its head, its face, its form, and left nothing of it visible save one outstretched, bony hand. The phantom's mysterious presence filled Scrooge with a solemn dread. He could learn no more, for the spirit neither spoke nor moved. And am I in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come? Oh, ghost of the future, I fear you more than any specter I have seen. Oh, but as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I am prepared to bear your company and do it with a thankful heart. Will you not speak to me? It gave him no reply. The hand was pointed straight before them. Scrooge followed the shadow of the phantom's dress, which bore him up, he thought, and carried him on. They scarcely seemed to enter the city, when the city rather seemed to spring up about them and encompass them of its own act. They went into an obscure part of the town where Scrooge had never penetrated before. Far in this den of infamous resort, there was a low-browed beetling shop below a penthouse roof, where iron, old rags, bottles, bones, and greasy offal were bought. Upon the floor within were piled up heaps of rusty keys, nails, chains, hinges, files, scales, weights, and refuse iron of all kinds. Scrooge said, I hear voices, men and women, talking of one who is dead. They rejoice at his death, and they speak with cold dislike. They quarrel over his possessions. Sitting in among the wares he dealt in was a gray-haired rascal transacting with two women. Scrooge recognized the women as being in his employ. As they talked, it became apparent to Scrooge that they had brought stolen objects with them and were making fun of the person who once owned these things. "Ha-ha," laughed the woman. "Why wasn't he kinder in his lifetime? If he had been, he'd have had somebody to look after him when he was dying, instead of gasping out his last breath over them." As each of the thieves presented their goods to the shop owner to sell, they kept making their taunts. "Should I buy this? He wouldn't die of anything cashing the loot. He frightened everybody away from him when he was alive to profit us when he was dead." Scrooge listened to this dialogue in horror, and as the scene changed before his eyes, he recoiled in terror. Now he saw a bed, a bare, uncurtained bed, on which, beneath a ragged sheet, there lay a something covered up. The room was very dark, and a pale light, rising in the outer air, fell straight upon the bed, and on it, plundered and bereft, unwatched, unwept, uncared for, was the body of a man, his head carelessly covered, They had even taken the shirt from his dead body. Spirit, with horror that I witnessed this. I see. The case of this unhappy man. Why, it might be my element. I beg you, let me see some tenderness connected with death, that I may forget the horror of what I have just heard. I pray we lead on. Acceding to Scrooge's wish, the ghost of Christmas yet to come conducted him for the second time to the house of his poor clerk, and found Mrs. Cratchit and all the little Cratchits seated, still as statues, around the fire. But Tiny Tim was nowhere in sight. As they watched, the door opened, and Bob Cratchit entered, wearily. They all greeted him, eager to give him comfort. He placed his arm around the shoulders of his wife. Oh, don't mind it, Father, don't be grieved, said Martha. Sunday you went, today then, Robert, said Mrs. Cratchit. Yes, my dear, I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green it is, that place where he will lay. But you'll see it often. I promised him we would walk there on Sunday. Oh, my little Tim, my little Tiny Tim. Oh, don't be sorrowful, Robert. He is where all little angels go. Oh, we must be gay and happy this Christmas as he would have us. Oh, of course we must, said Cratchit. We must be closer than ever before, and happier, however and whenever we part from one another. I am sure we shall none of us ever forget poor Tiny Tim. Oh, never, Father, never, said the children in unison. Once again, the silent ghost of Christmas yet to come beckoned Scrooge to follow, pointing, as before, this time to an old churchyard, overrun with grass and weeds, forgotten and untended. The spirit stood among the graves and pointed solemnly to a headstone. Before I draw nearer to that stone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of things that will be, or are they shadows of things that are no may be? The ghost pointed at the grave. Also, man's courses will foreshadow certain ends, no doubt, to which, if persevered in, they must lead. But if these courses be departed from, the ends will change. Say it is thus with what you show me. Oh, I beg you, sell it. Scrooge crept toward the gravestone and saw his own name. He covered his face with his hands. My name? 'Tis my name carved upon that stone. Am I the man whose death they welcomed? Over whose possessions they quarreled? Oh, no, Spirit, oh, no. Spirit, hear me. I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been, but for this intervention. Oh, why show me disappointed beyond all hope? Good Spirit, your hand trembles. Your nature intercedes for me and pities me. Surely that I may let change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life. I will live in the past, present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me, and I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Tell me that I may spice away the writing on that stone. I beg you, tell me. The ghost stood erect. Scrooge, still on his knees, reached for the ghost's hand, which was raised, elbow bent, palm out. In his agony, old Scrooge caught the spectral hand. It sought to free itself, but he was strong, and in the midst of entreaty, detained it. The spirit, stronger yet, repulsed him. Holding up his hands in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw a sudden alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled until his hands clasped nothing but emptiness. The ghost of Christmas yet to come had left him. Scrooge awoke in his bedroom, and the bedpost was his own. The bed linens were his own. The room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own, in which to make amends. I will live in the past, present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. Look, they are not torn down. My bed curtains are not torn down, rings and all. They're here. I am here. The shadows of things that would have been are dispelled, or they will be. I know they will. Oh, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year to all in this life. Look, there's the saucepan that the gruel was in, and there's the door by which the ghost of Jacob Marley entered, and there's the window through which I traveled. It was all right. It's all true. It all happened. I don't know how long I've been among the spirits. Never mind. I don't care. I know to be a man about that, but oh, I must see outside this window. Say you, young lady. What's to be, my fine fellow? Oh, it's Christmas Day. Christmas Day? Then I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. Oh, they can do anything they like. First they can. Hello, my fine fellow. Do you know the poulterer's shop in the next street? The one at the corner? I say I should certainly do. What an intelligent boy. Remarkable boy. Do you know whether they sold the prize turkey there that was hanging? Not the little prize turkey, but the big one. What? The one as big as me? What, it's hanging there now. It is. What a delightful. What, we're going to buy it then. What? Oh, sure, just like you say. No, I'm in earnest. Go and buy it and tell them to bring it here. Come back with the man. I'll give you shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes. I give you half a crown. Oh, what a wonderful boy. Oh, there he goes, like a shot. I'll send the turkey to Bob Crescent. Oh, and he shot it over sent it. And it's twice the size of Tiny Jim. Scrooge dressed himself, all at his best, and at last got out into the streets. The people by this time were pouring forth. Scrooge regarded everyone with a delighted smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant and alert that 3 or 4 good-humored fellows said, "Good morning, son. Merry Christmas to you." Scrooge said often afterwards that of all the blithe sounds he had ever heard, those were the blithest in his ears. He had not gone far when, coming on towards him, he beheld the charity collectors who had come to his counting house the day before. "My dear friends," exclaimed Scrooge, "how do you do? I hope you succeeded yesterday in your charity, and it was very kind, and a Merry Christmas to you." "Mr. Scrooge?" Yes, that is my name, and I fear that name may not be pleasant to you now. Allow me to ask your pardon. Will you have the goodness to accept my pledge to triple the amount you received from anyone yesterday?" "Well, it must be, my dear Mr. Scrooge, and you swear this?" "If you please, not a farthing less. Great many back payments are included, I assure you. Not us. Say nothing more. Come and see me soon. I promise you this next visit will be more benevolent." Scrooge went to church, visited with his clergyman for the first time in years, and walked about the streets and watched the people hurrying to and fro. He had never dreamed that anyone could give him so much happiness. In the afternoon, he turned his steps toward his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock, but He made a dash, and he did. "Why, it's Uncle Ebenezer!" cried Fred's wife. "Out on Christmas Day, no less." My dear, what a fool I have been. What a pig-headed old fool. Can you ever forgive my ways? I can't count the number of years I have failed even the simplest kindness to you and Fred, much less accept your invitation. Is it too late? Oh, bless you, Uncle Ebenezer, it is never too late. Dear Uncle, you have made Fred so happy. He is here in the dining room. Let me get him for you. Thank you, my dear. "Ah, Fred!" "Dear heart alive!" Fred exclaimed. "Who is that?" "It is I, your Uncle Scrooge. I have come at long last to accept your invitation for dinner. Will you let me stay, Fred?" "Might he stay?" It's a mercy Fred didn't shake his uncle's arm off. Scrooge felt himself perfectly at home. Nothing could have been heartier. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness. Scrooge awoke early the next morning and made a beeline for his office. Oh, if he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming in late. The clock struck 9. No Bob. 9:15. No Bob. He was a full 18 minutes behind his time. So in came Bob Cratchit, his hat off, even before he opened the door, his comforter too. Scrooge, seeing all this, could barely contain his chuckle, but then he reverted to his old self. "Hello, Cratchit, what do you mean coming in this time of day?" "Oh, I'm really sorry, sir. I am behind my time." "You are?" "Yes, I think you are. Now step this way, please." It's only once a year, sir. It shall not be repeated. I was making Brother Mary yesterday, sir." "Now, I'll tell you what, my friend. I'm not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, I'm going to raise your salary." "Oh, a Merry Christmas, Bob. A Merry Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, that I have given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary and assist your struggling family, and we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of steaming rum punch. Now, make up the fires, put another coal scuttle. Do it before you've done another rhyme, Mr. Bob Cratchit." Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good an employer, and as good a man as the good old city of London ever knew. He had no further visits with spirits, but lived a changed life afterwards. And it was always said of Ebenezer Scrooge that he knew how to keep Christmas well. May that be truly said of us, of all of us.